Happy March. It is Women's History Month, and it's my goal to bring in women experts who can talk about how other women can really speak to their value, advocate for themselves in the realm of opportunities like promotions or even that extra side income when you're meeting with a decision maker. And we have a special guest. We'll be right back after the intro. I'm so excited to share a special guest with you that I actually met on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool. I say that all the time. Laura, how are you?
Hi, Linnita. Such a joy to be back talking to you again. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I really enjoyed meeting with you the very first time we connected on LinkedIn. And I said, I have to share Laura's story and her expertise with our audience. So tell us a little bit about who Laura is and what she does.
Yeah, sure. So I am currently the founder of Executive Endurance Coaching, LLC. So I partner with emerging leaders, existing leaders, and also individuals who are looking to move from stuck to unstuck, really. And that could be a number of things in their life or in their work, their profession. Um, I come from a background of recruiting. I've been in recruiting and talent acquisition consulting for about 14, we're coming up on 15 years. So I'm aging myself. Um, but I kind of have that blend between the talent acquisition piece where it is all about, getting the job that you love and the job that supports your life. And I wanted to make a full-time business out of that. So here we are. We built our own.
14 years, talent
Yeah.
acquisition, also advocating for yourself. What has, when you learn to speak your value, how has that impacted your career?
Honestly, and I'll be completely forthcoming, and I think this is so common with women in particular. I waited a really long time to actually know my value proposition, what I was bringing to the table. And I think when I really owned that, I saw such a positive shift in every experience that I had, not just in interviewing, not just in business, but just in every interaction that I had. And I remembered, like, you know what? You deserve to be in this spot, or you deserve to be in this conversation, or you deserve to go after this thing. Everything kind of shifted in a way where I felt like a peace that came over me because I knew I was supposed to be there.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. I also didn't even I didn't think it was necessary to 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 be able to articulate my value. I felt like, well, just if you bring me in, you'll be good. You'll be happy to know that I'll
Right.
get the job done. But it wasn't until I applied for a role and I knew I could do the job, but I didn't do the work on the front end to articulate that when I got in front of the decision maker. And I was missing a few years of experience to qualify. And I think there's a lot of preparation that goes into this on the back end before you can actually show up on the front end. Talk a little bit about what are some tips that a woman could do to prepare for that big decision
Yeah.
or that evaluation.
So I'll give you a little secret. Having recruited for 14, 15 years, so much of what has a hiring manager pick a candidate actually has nothing to do with what's on paper, especially now. It's pretty common for people to hire for a person. And then if they like you, if they can tell that you bring value, they will find a way for you to fit within that organization. So really, what you want to be able to do, obviously, you want to research the company. You want to have some valuable questions prepared so that they know that you did the legwork and that you do have an interest in the company. But you also have to be really confident in you because outside of what's on the paper, outside of what's in the job description, you have to be so confident in what you can bring to the table. You have to be confident in what your differentiator is. So, for the example that you provided, where you knew going in, crap, like I'm missing a couple of these things, I'm missing a couple years. All right. Well, what can you do to offset the years of experience that you're lacking? Because probably you led with, I'm missing 2 years of experience. And there's that little seed in the back of your mind where you don't necessarily believe that you should have been there because you're lacking those years. You have to believe that with those years or not, you deserve to be there. And I am such a big believer in writing down the why. So before you get into that interview, write down what your value add proposition is. What are your differentiators that somebody that does have the years of experience might not have that you do? Um, and practice it. Get in front of the mirror and practice that confidence, that speech, whatever it is. I do that all the time. And I still, everybody gets nervy before an interview, but the more you practice what you're bringing to the table, the more confident you'll sound and the more articulate you'll be when you get in front of the actual hiring managers. Um, I would also say to prepare some success stories, especially if you don't have all of the years or all of the experience. Talk to them about really specific situations that you've gotten through or you've experienced success. One of the ones that I love, and I do this in my questioning of candidates too, it's called the STAR method. So think of a situation, the task that was at hand, um, the action that you took, and what was the result. If you keep that in the back of your mind, have a couple stories where you can say the situation, the task, the action, and the result, because that's giving them a preview of what they can expect from you. So have a couple of those stories in mind. And again, rehearse them. They're going to ask you, what's a success story for you? What was the hardest, project that you took over? And what did that look like? All of us kind of know those go-to questions. So have those stories prepared, rehearse them like a lot.
Lots of gems wrapped in there, Laura. I heard you say prepare, and
Yeah.
that's writing it out, going back into your memory bank, associating some of the interview questions with key career moments that speak to your competency. You also mentioned getting in front of the mirror, like rehearsing. That's all up my lane. I'm all pro preparation on the front end.
Yeah.
And, being expected to, I would say, well, you said this thing coming, knowing your value proposition, like thinking through that and boldly sharing it. Wow, I've never done that. I would love to get to a point to do that. And if you're watching this, you should be doing that. You should be doing that. What are some common, like, nail biting moments that you experience as a recruiter? And you're like, oh man, I wish people wouldn't do that.
Like things that I wish people hadn't said during an interview. Um,
Said or maybe display, disclose, have on their resume. So it could be a behavior or an observation.
yeah. So I really loathe when somebody talks poorly about a past employment situation or, a coworker. It's never a good look. It's not, you're not going to be able to spin that in a positive way. Instead, I wish that people would use a situation and don't be specific about the employer. Don't be specific about the individual. Talk about the situation that may have happened and then how you conquered that situation or how you grew from that situation. So then it's a positive. It's not like you're coming in bashing an old employer, you're coming in bashing a coworker that you couldn't figure it out with, because you're giving them a preview of what they can expect if they run into a similar situation with you. So if they see you bashing somebody else, they're like, ooh, that's going to happen for me. Um, I have a hard time watching somebody who's saying something that I know might not be in alignment to them, but they're saying what they want me to hear. Because really, my gold is when I can figure out like who the person is. And I know they're bringing their full self, they're authentic. And I know that that's like the buzz thing right now is, be yourself, stick to your truth and be authentic. But it is so true. Because they're going to learn who it is. Just like when I talk to hiring managers all the time about, trying to oversell their job. I'm like, don't oversell the job, because when they get here, if they are accepting a job based off of something that is not accurate, they're not staying. The same goes true if you're interviewing. If you present yourself in a way and you say something that doesn't align to you and then you get the job and you either can't do the thing or you don't feel passionately about the thing that you've told them you were passionate about, they're going to figure that out. So I wish that more candidates were honest about really what their truth is. Um, and I have so much more appreciation for somebody answering honestly and saying, you know what, actually, I haven't done that, but I am so open to learning that skill. Or, they offset it with, actually, I had a similar situation. It didn't go that well, but here's what I learned. Because it shows that they're willing to grow, they're willing to expand. So I wish that they would be honest about I wouldn't even call them their downfalls, but things that they've struggled with, because you're going to struggle in the next thing. So I'm always curious to see, the people that are honest about where they may have got it wrong and what they learned from it, how they could have handled something better. I wish they would be more open in sharing some of those things rather than just saying the buttoned up, like, this is what they want me to say thing.
Be your authentic self. Have the courage to be your authentic self. I literally just said that in my podcast yesterday. If you do not know the answer to the question, please say that. There's so much freedom in that. And Laura, I think that comes from your coaching background.
Yeah.
Because as someone who understands the process that growth has and the freedom and honesty, you value those things, and you want other people to experience that. I want to transition to your coaching background and
Yeah.
how you help people leverage their potential. Tell us a little bit about that work.
So I think, myself, along with so many coaches and even therapists that get into this line of work, they do it because you identify a thing that you got through and you go, oh God, I wish that I would have had somebody that was a couple steps ahead of me that could have guided me through this situation. Um, and I noticed that a lot in my recruiting background. I loved that I was helping people fill a certain position. But at the end of the day, I wanted to, kind of cast a broader net. I wanted to deepen the service offering, and I wanted to be able to go beyond just filling the seat. I wanted to talk about retention. Okay, you've got this star employee. You maybe oversold the job. How do we keep them? Like, how do you develop this leader? And that happens so often. I was seeing so many individual contributors that were high performers being pushed or promoted into these management roles, and they hadn't been properly mentored to actually lead a team. So I saw such opportunity in being able to help guide people through those situations. And I had found myself in some of those situations. I can think of a couple where I was like, I wish that I had somebody to help me. I was frustrated in where I was in my career. I felt like, sometimes men did get an upper hand, that I went in and I was like, that's different. That experience was different. So I would love to be able to coach somebody around how to show your worth in an interview and how you come in and offer something different that maybe the guy didn't have. Um, there were a couple situations where I was lacking confidence in going in and knowing my worth. I wanted to remind people, and this is kind of my slogan in coaching, whether it's appropriate on here or not, but I wanted to remind people who the F they were. Sometimes you need that hard reminder when you're on the floor. Get up. Remember what you're capable of doing. Remember that you can do hard things. Um, and I so needed that reminder in my own life that by the time I finally was able to articulate it, and I was like, I want to do this for somebody else. I want to be the reminder. If they don't have it in themselves, I want to be the one that taps them on the shoulder and whispers in their ear, remember who the F you are. Get up.
Love that. I love that. Yes, it's appropriate. We find language for the language that matters when it's appropriate. So,
Yeah.
yeah, speak your truth, Laura. Speak
Yeah.
your truth. So I love that. Wow, that's so empowering. It sounds like it would be a privilege for someone to sit at your feet and to be empowered by you. How do people get in touch with you if they're interested in your coaching services?
Yeah. Well, in true National Women's History form, I have the website that's launching this month. So keep a lookout for the website. It's going to be Executive Endurance LLC, Executive Endurance Coaching LLC.com. In the meantime, I have a business LinkedIn page. It's Executive Coaching. Um, and then they can also get in contact with me through my LinkedIn page as well. They can schedule a consult if they want. I do free 30-minute consults, and I'm always one click away. I respond to all the messages. I think that it's great. Any way that I can help anyone, I'm willing to have a conversation. So they can shoot me a message as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Laura. You'd be very, very, very blessed if you worked with Laura. Just from my little bit of time with her, as people say, I put my stamp on that. Put my stamp on that. Thank you so
I
much for dropping the
appreciate
gems
you.
that you shared today. And happy Women's History Month to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a joy.